Assalamu alaikum guys, I hope you are doing great. In this tutorial video I'm going to show you the basics of GitHub and get how you can push your code from local repository to remote repository on GitHub. So let me just pop up my screen and let's get into that. So here we have a page where you can download Get Bash terminal on your PC. It gives you different download options, like if you are using a Apple PC, Apple operating system, you have to click on Mac OS. If you are using Windows or you are using Linux, you have to go according to that. I'm using Windows, so I'm gonna click on Windows. So after clicking on Windows, it takes me to a different page where you can see it gives me different options like 32-bit or 64-bit. It depends on your system. If you are using 32-bit system, you have to go for 32-bit. If you are using 64-bit system, you have to download 64-bit. I am using 64-bit system, so I'm just gonna click on 64-bit, and what it is going to do is going to install the setup of Git Bash, and you have to download that out. And it doesn't matter uh, where you store Git Bash, because you have to set path. It gives you a default path of C programs, and if you don't want to store there, you can store somewhere else. But I have already installed Git Bash on my system and it's already configured on VS Code. I'm just gonna show you how you can use command line of it. So let me just pop into my GitHub page. Let me just share this thing. So right now you're seeing my GitHub portfolio. If you haven't created an account on your GitHub, you have to create an account on GitHub in order to save your uh, code or anything like programming stuff you have on your local machine to cloud storage on GitHub. And what does it allows you to share it with world, like everyone can see what you have developed so far. Like if I go into my repositories right now, I have some course. Let me just yep. Recently I had created car rental website, and if anyone comes in on my profile, they are going to see car rental website, and they can like view the code what I have used so far, and they can see what technologies I have used. And if they like this thing, like if they like any part of it, they can clone whole website on their local machine from here, and they can use my code to make it more perfect, or they can like fix my issues from it, and they can like just create an issue from here and let me know like if I have done something wrong, or if it needs any changes, or they have made any changes and they want me to merge it with my code, so I can do everything from GitHub. So I hope so I'm not making this complicated. And so get back to my repositories, and from over here you can have to create a new repo. In order to push your code, you have to create a new repository on GitHub. You can name anything, like name should be something which is gonna happen. Like I'm going to push my backend code over here, like I'm doing backend practice. So I'm just gonna give backend backend fix my typo, backend practice. So back in practice, and I'm just gonna save it as a public because you can give a description if you have something you want to let them know. It's an optional thing, you can skip that. And after that, if you are creating a public repo, public if you choose a public, it will be available for everyone who comes on your profile and sees. They can see your repository. If you are creating private, no except you would be able to see that. I'm gonna just gonna go for public because I want everyone to see that. And after that, you can add a readme file right now, or you can initialize it later. So for now, I'm just gonna skip readme and create, click on create repository option. As soon as I clicked on create repository, it created a repository according to the name I had given it to, like back in practice. And after that, it shows me like you can add a readme file over here, or and it does show me some commands which you can use to push your code from local machine to over here. So it shows me echo backend practice and readme file is for creating a readme file. I'm just not gonna create a readme file right now. I'm gonna create it later. So after that, it shows me get init. And what does get init do? And then after readme and comment and so on, so many stuff. So what I'm gonna just go for, like, gonna show you a drawing which I just created right now to make you understand how does git workflow works. So if it's yeah, it's visible. So I have shared the screen, and over here you can see this arrow, the first arrow where initialize is written. What it does do, we saw the command earlier get init, and what get init do, it initialize the git into your local machine. First you have to initialize the file into your local machine in order to use git. First you have to initialize that, and after initializing in your working directory, what you do, you have to add files to the staging area, like all the code, all the production code you have on your working directory, you have to add that on a staging area. And what is staging area? It's a draft. You can think of a draft. When you are writing something, you are thinking about something, what you do, you have to write down all the ideas into points and create a draft out of it. It's not a final product because it does contain mistakes, it might contain bugs and everything. You are just reviewing what you have written so far and what you have thought so far. So what it does do, it adds all the files into the staging into a draft, where you still do have a time before making a permanent change. If you are just doing, you have added all the files into staging area, and after adding the files into staging area, your mind clicks something like you have forgetting to add semicolon or a comma into some place, and you just go over there and you just add that, and you have to add that file again to the staging area to make sure everything is recorded on a git. After it's on a staging area, you have make sure and reviewed everything on your code, like there isn't any bug or anything which might cause an error later, and you are done. After that, you what you do, you comment your code first. And what comment do, it creates an history on git which we had initialized earlier. You git file, it creates an history on that file that you have created. Save these files into that uh, small file, like you can say, what should I say about it? You can think of a copy of your code is been saved on git initialize, where you have initialized your git file. It save a copy of your code into that, and after you it's been saved on your local machine, what it does do, you can either push the code on your remote repository, or from like remote repository, which is GitHub, where we had created a repository. Right now it pushes from local machines to remote cloud repository, and from there you can even pull your code back to your local machine too. It's a same process but different commands. So we are just gonna wrap this out. First, you initialize the git into your working directory, the file of git, which allows you to save your work and control the history of your work. So after it is initialized in your working directory, what you do, you have to add the files into the staging area, and when they are added into the staging area, you have to commit it into the local repository. And when the permanent commit is done, you have to push that code, like push that files onto your remote repository, and it push all the files to the remote repository. So that's how it works. The whole Git workflow works, command line workflow. So let me just share my code screen where I'm going to show you how you can use commands, which commands are going to be used, and how they are going to be utilized. So let me just share it, Windows and my. So here is it, my working directory. This is my working directory where I have some codes of backend development, and it is my terminal. I have just opened that up. Let me just close it and open that up again. When you open your code, it looks like that. I'm doing backend development, that's why it's like that. And just gonna go into the top ribbon bar, and where you can find three dots. After clicking on that, you will find terminal, and you can press on new terminal, or it's there is a command for opening a terminal is control shift hyphen, sorry, hyphen, control shift literals, what they are called. I've just forgotten the name of those commas, which they are called, I think, literals, string literals, I think. You have to create something like that. I just forgot about it. You can just open it from the menu bar. That will be more easier. You can see that. Just forgot about it. So after opening your terminal, it might not look like that because you might be using default command prompt or something called PowerShell. Let me just see if I have that. So you might have a PowerShell or command line by default on your terminal. So in order to change your default terminal, what you have to do, let me just delete this all. You have to click on launch profile, which is available after the name plus sign. You have to click on launch profile and select default profile. You have to click on select default profile, and after clicking on it, you can select git bash, which we had downloaded earlier. So you can select that git bash, and it will make it permanent terminal for you. Whenever you are I'm just gonna close it, and when ever I'm going to open it up, it's just gonna open git bash terminal for me instead of cmd or PowerShell. So right now, if I look into this is my PC username, and after that, this is my D drive. I'm in my D drive, and this is my path for the folder, like my main folder, backend development folder. In my backend development folder, I have another folder called chapter 1. and I want to push this chapters 1 into the GitHub. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna write down cd. And what does cd do? Cd allows you to change directory. It's a short form of change directory. Let me just create a one more, like a place where you can just text, or let me just say note.txt, and over here cd stands for change directory. So I'm just gonna zoom into this thing. You might not be visible, so it just went so far. So what does cd stand for? It stands for change directory. It allows you to change the path, and if you haven't changed the path, if I just upload it right now, like backend, the whole thing will be uploaded on the server, and I don't want to upload the whole thing. I just want to upload the chapter 1 folder. So I'm just gonna go into the chapter 1, chapter 01, and enter. And after I clicked on enter, it changed my path from cd. This is my directory, and this is my main folder, backend development, and right now I'm into subdirectory of chapter 1. And after getting into chapter 1, what I have to do, I have to initialize the git file into this chapter first in order to use git commands. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to write git space in it, and it will initialize a empty git repository on my terminal, on my working directory. Once it's been initialized, you wouldn't be able to see that because it's an hidden file and it doesn't show up on a working directory. But how you are going to identify it's been created or not? Before I had created this, these all were white, in white like color. After creating our empty git repository, they have changed into green. Now they are into the once they are into git repository, they change their color into green. So it's into my git repository. After creating that, it does show you in which branch you are in. It matters in GitHub, like there are two main branches, main and master. What is main? Like main is the one which is in front, and master is something like in the back, like the second branch. And if you want to push into master, you can push into master. If you want to go for a main, you can go for a main, but I will prefer you should go for a main branch. It's help you deploy easily on live servers, and in master it might get a little tricky while you are deploying your website live, or you're making your website live. So how you are going to change this branch? You have to write a command, get space hyphen get space branch hyphen capital M, and then space, then main. What it will do, it will change the current branch of your repo from master to main. If I had given different name, you can give a different name, and it will create a third branch into your repository. Currently I have only one branch in my repository, which is main. I have deleted the master branch after adding this command. It have removed the master branch from my repository. It only contains the main branch right now. And before we get into this, let me just clear this screen out so it's on the top. So after I have shifted my branch, if you are using Git for the first time, you might have to configure the Git in your local machine in order to connect it with the GitHub account of yours. And what command you are going to use, you have to write down git config global user dot name, and after that you have to like give double quotations, and you have to write your username, your username. These quotations, your username is going to what I'm going. I've forgotten the spelling of your username. So instead of your username, you have to put your own username of GitHub. For me, it's my username for GitHub is Mirza Zen. So instead of adding username, I'm gonna change it to my Mirza. So what it will do, it will configure in my local machine my GitHub configuration. You have to do it first. It wouldn't it launch your code. So it's first time only process, and after it's been configured, you don't have to do it again and again. I have already configured it, so I'm doing again. So I'm just gonna show what amount you have to write down and which will be used for configuration. And after configuration, your username, what you have to do, your email, user.email, and instead of your username you have to use your email. I'm not just gonna write my email because if someone did use it, it might connect it to my repository. It wouldn't connect to my repository like this. It will ask you after you have done these both, and it might require you to sign in through the desktop or your like command terminal. Like it will pop up an indication where it will show you that if you want to continue sign in through your command line or your browser, default browser. So you have to continue with the default browser, and there it will tell you to authorize your Git to access this your GitHub account. Once you have authorized it, it wouldn't ask again and again for authorization or configuration. It's just the first time thing you have to do. And once you have configuration is done, let me just get back to the what we are going how you can push the code. So it's not that hard. You have to just follow simple commands after you have configured your Git, and configuration will work once you have done Git init. So you have to do Git init first, and after you have done Git init, you have to uh, configure your GitHub Git account first with the terminal, so you can push your code from over here. And once it's configured, you can just change your branch, and after you have changed your branch, now we are going to add these codes into the staging area. And how you can add this code into staging area, you have to use git space add, and you have to specify the file name you want to add into staging area. But if you want to add whole working directory, like whole things, like I don't want to add a single thing, I want to add everything into the staging area. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use full stop or a period sign. You can say you have to like get space add space full stop and enter. It will add all these files into the staging area. Right now it's gonna take time because I have forgotten to include git ignore file in my project, which ignores the node modules to get pushed into the GitHub repository, remote repository. And why we don't want to push node modules, because it contains all the necessary files. Actually, it contains the necessary files to run your code, but if you have package.json file, it wouldn't require use on GitHub because it contains more MBs of data, and it might give you an error while you are pushing your code on your GitHub, because they have some limitations on the storage, and if you try to overdo it, it might give you an error. So you have to put this get you have to put node modules in git ignore file in order to not push it the into GitHub. So how you are going to do it? Let me just click on chapter 1 and click on new file, and here I'm going to create .get ignore file. And what it will do, it will allow me to add what things I don't want to add on GitHub. Like I don't want to add node modules right now, so just I'm gonna write node underscore modules, and this is how it will just ignore all the node modules folder from my staging area, and it hasn't remove it. And to remove that from staging area, I have to rerun the git add command to make sure it reads the git ignore file. It takes the git ignore file into the staging area and remove this node modules folder from it, because it hasn't written yet, because you can see it they were all used right now before I had done made any changes into it. Like before I just forgot what to say. Before I had using git add command, they were all used because they were uncommitted, and they weren't even not even not added into the staging area. So when I had used git add command, they were all added into the staging area, which is called draft area, where you review your code more and more and see if there are still bugs. You have to fix that out and push your old code again to the staging area, so in order to make a permanent change before making a permanent change. So right now I have reviewed my code and found out I have accidentally added node modules into my staging area also. Now I want to remove this from it and add git ignore file, which will help it to analyze that I want to remove node modules from my staging area. So I'm just gonna write again git space add and dot. So it have removed the node modules from it. Hopefully it might have removed it. If it hasn't, we will get to know it in a bit in when we have already added the when we had pushed the file into the repository. So git init was the first command. Let me just go and add it over here so you can know it was our first command. When you have initialized your git, you have to first initialize your git. After that, if it's your first time, you have to configure your GitHub account from your terminal, and after it's configured, you have to you can change the branch from master to main, And how you are going to do that, you have to use git branch hyphen capital M and main. It will change the branch from master to main. And sorry for that, main. And after that you have to add all the files into the staging area, and the command for that is git add. And if you want to add only one specific file, you have to just write its name. And if you want to add everything from your working directory, you have to write full stop. So in my case, I wanted to push everything from here. So once you have review your all code and make sure everything is perfect, you can now make a permanent changes and commit your code to your local repository. So how you are going to do that, you have to write git commit -m, and after double quotations, and over here you have to write down what you are committing. Like for me, I'm just pushing backend. I'm just gonna write express practice code, because I'm just pushing express practice code, so I'm just gonna write that. So if anyone goes and checks what last I have done on this repository, they will know from this comment that he have pushed this code which contains the express. So when I press enter, it will comment all these into my local repository. Right now it has committed node modules 2. It hasn't taken that out. I think I might have messed up someplace, so let's see where I have messed up, because I don't want it to push node modules into the server. So for hiding this out, I have to just see control I. Let me just see what I've done mistake. I'm just gonna use the AI to see it giving me. So let me just try it again and see if it removes it from the files or not. So let me just remove git add dot git ignore. Let me just say slash dot git ignore. So outside the repository. No, it's not the outside the repository. So yep, it did wait this out, and I think it doesn't take node modules out of my section comment, like permanent changes, because of two things I'm thinking right now. Like I should have added git ignore first, because if you don't add git ignore first and try to put your files into the staging area, it it is hard to remove node modules after that. So I'm just gonna try it again. Git comment and -m node modules remove. I hope so. That's why I'm committing into this. If it's removed or not, I don't know right till now. So nothing to comment. Working tree clean. So it's not really more now. So let's just go with we have and just write down over here the command, the next command we had used. And comment hyphen m, and over here you have to write a meaningful message which have that in right now. Meaningful message. Meaningful message. So message after like to push your code from local to GitHub. You have to connect with your order, send it over there. And to create a session, I have to go over to my GitHub first, and from there I have to copy the URL. You can say, let me just share the screen of there. Let me just go and present entire screen. Let me just open the entire screen. So over here you can see how you can get the URL of your repository which you have to create a remote connection with. This is the URL which I have to add into that command line in order to connect this repository. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to write get remote add. After that you have to define the name which you are going to use, like alias you can say, which helps you to use it instead of a URL. So I'm just gonna give Oregon. It's an default name you can say, which is given by everyone, and even you can see over here into like GitHub. I didn't create a readme, and if you don't create a readme, you get these commands which helps you to write down into the terminal, and you can just copy from over here and paste it over there, and it will work. It will help you push it machine to GitHub. So I'm just gonna copy the remote connection command instead of writing, and just going to paste it over here. And after pasting, I'm just gonna click enter, and it will create a remote connection of my from local machine to GitHub repo. And after creating a connection by writing get push, and why did we wrote you can understand using origin main branch. You have to define your branch, which branch you have to push on GitHub. Like if you have 2 3 this and you want to push main branch instead of master branch, you have to define main. If you want to push master branch instead of main, you have to write down master over here. So I have only one branch right now. So after creating, you might get off connecting your GitHub account if you are new into it. If you are not new to that, and it will take a while, few minutes or a minute or so. It depends on your internet. It will just all the code, and the copy of your code will be published over there. So it's 99% done and it's completed. If I just go over there and refresh the page, it will be available over. As you can see, it has pushed the node modules which I didn't want it, but for now it's okay because we are just practicing now. So you get to know how you can add a get ignore file into your code base, which will help you to remove the unnecessary file before you add them into the staging area. Once they are inside the staging area, it's hard to remove them, and there might be a command for that. I don't remember it right now exactly, and otherwise I would have showed you. So it's into your repository right now, and when you do any changes into some place, like let me do the change, let me just add the name, or just let me just remove the name, let me just make it Mirza, and I have just made a simple little change. And after making a little change, I'm just gonna write git add and dot again to add these file again to the staging area. I have already changed a single file. If you change multiple file, you can use git add dot. I just use it dot because it doesn't take much time and it solve it out quickly instead of the whole file. So after adding git add dot, I can just push command this draft of the permissions get made made changes in the file because I have made change and just gonna click and it shows you you made a change into one file, and what you did one insertion and one deletion, because I just deleted Jan and added what I did I don't know what I have added so far, but it just shows you what you have added and how many things you have added, how many times you have deleted things from the code base after making a permanent change. And when you add files again to the staging area after committing, after you have commit something and you make changes after that and add these file into staging area and then commit out, it will show you how many files have made changes uh, from the history. It contains history of the last code snap, and from that snap it will see and go through from that log, like what was the code before and what I'm receiving right now. So it just changes those things and updates the git file, git local file, like where it is local repository where it is storing all the things. So if I do git log, it will show me all the changes I have made so far. The first change I made was, let me just go over, it's so yep, it have showed me like the first thing I had changed was at Saturday Feb 1 at this time, and this is what he was the author, and this was the Gmail. If there are teams working together and they make changes on same code and you do get log, you will get to know who have made changes when and who had made changes to what things. So this is how Git helps you to maintain the history of your code and maintain this your copy of the code if you lost it somewhere, like if your system gets uh, crash or something like that, you can still access your files from GitHub cloud storage easily anywhere. So after that, let me just close this out, git log, and after closing it, I'm just hoping to close it. It isn't closing. Why it isn't? So it isn't closing. I think I might have pressed something while doing this, or something isn't working. Okay. Press Q and then it doesn't work. So let me just open new terminal. So I have just opened new terminal, and let me just wait for it to load up so I can push the new comment file on my GitHub. I have already created the last comment. This is my first comment which we have made, express practice code, and this second comment we had made was let me just get into my subdirectory first, and we already have added that file into the staging, and then we have already made permanent change. Now we can just have to push the updated code on my repository. So for pushing, we are going to use the same command like git push origin main. Oh, yep, I have just misspelled it. I forgot to add an I before R. So git push origin main, and it's just going to push the updated code files to my remote repository. It will only push those files which it will get changes from, and it wouldn't push all these files again. So it have only pushed this one file like server.js file over here. If I just refresh it, and I will get to see my code file. Let me just, so you can see that made changes in a server file, and it shows there was a one insertion, one deletion, and this file was changes 5 minutes ago. It stores all the timeline of yours and what time it had made changes and everything. It helps you to create a history of everything in local machine, and then you can just push it on a remote repository. I might sound boring right now because it's my first time doing English voiceover. I never have done that, and it might not be that good, but I'm just trying my best to. So these are the commands which you use for initializing Git repository and initializing your, let me just write this down. Okay, I'm just gonna give you the bunch of commands PDF. I have already downloaded that PDF. Gonna share it with you in description. You can download that out. Let me just zoom it and just show you all the commands it contains. It's a cheat sheet for you, and it will just show you everything how you can use git command line setup. So I'm just gonna come over and see you soon in the next video. See you in the next video. I hopefully in the series of backend. I think I will might be starting a series of backend or front end pretty much in few days. So see, for now it's just goodbye. Allah Hafiz.